It is fitting that this year, like every year, we end our Lenten journey tonight with the celebration of the Lord's Supper. Through today's scriptures, we learn about the first Passover meal and the instruction to the Hebrew people that they received as they were going to be released from their bondage of their Egyptian rulers. An event that the Jewish people remember every year. Not just a passing memory, but once again bring it to life, as if they were going through the process as their forefathers did. To feel the emotion, to know the significance, to embrace what God had accomplished for them. We also learn about the way Jesus changed the Passover meal with his disciples. How he uses the Passover bread and the Passover wine to instill a new covenant. This time, the word remembrance is explicitly used, not just to call to mind, but to bring about the presence, what God did for us all through this meal. To know that this is his body, and this is his blood. Each year we come to Holy Thursday in anticipation of Good Friday and then Easter Sunday. Really though, sometimes I think we're at a disadvantage. A disadvantage for knowing about Good Friday and Easter Sunday. We've heard about it for years. We know the story well. In some ways, it almost seems commonplace. But what about tonight if we think about it differently? What if we put ourselves in the place of one of the apostles? One who did not know what was coming. Think of yourself as one of the 12. Maybe a less known apostle, such as Simon the Zealot. As such, you were there. You were there when Jesus healed the blind man. You were there when Jesus debated with the authorities. You were there when Jesus heals Simon's mother-in-law. You are there when Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. You are there when Jesus casts out demons. You were also there when Jesus got up in the morning. You had breakfast with him at the seashore. You were there when he taught the Our Father. You were there on long journeys, walking in the hot Middle Eastern sun. You saw Jesus sweat. You heard him laugh. You saw him cry, and you prayed with him. You are there. You have seen some amazing things that are beyond explanation. Things that you never anticipated you would see in your life. You hear Peter for the first time recognize Jesus as the Christ, God's chosen one, God's holy and anointed. You hear the voice when he's baptized by John the Baptist. You hear his mother ask him to help at the wedding, and he does. This night, however, is different. Jesus, for all the amazing things he has done, does something completely different. You're sitting around after the meal, maybe waiting for the last piece of lamb to be eaten. The aroma of the meal is still in the air. The city is buzzing because everyone will soon be celebrating the great Passover feast, kind of like a Thanksgiving meal. This day is more special than the rest. You are also in the city of Jerusalem, not in the town of Galilee. It's much bigger. People are livelier. You also know that the authorities are not happy you are there and aren't happy he is there. As you're talking with the others at the table, you notice Jesus stops what he's doing and he gets up from the table. He takes off his cloak and wraps it about his waist. He goes over to get the water pitcher and the bowl and brings it in front of one of the other members of the group, sets it on the floor in front of him, bends over, and starts washing his feet. Wait a minute. What's going on here? You don't say a word. You just look. No one is really sure of what's going on. Jesus the healer, Jesus the teacher, Jesus the great speaker, Jesus the lover of souls. Jesus is now doing the work of a slave. He has taken the lowest possible place among all who are there. What's he doing? When he comes to you, you're dumbfounded. He places the bowl right before you. You know what's going to happen. You don't know how to react. Should I stop him? Should I say something? Should I let this happen? He has been my inspiration, my guide, my life for the past 3 years. Now, all of a sudden, he's becoming my servant? Frozen, you let it happen. He looks you in the eye when he's washing your feet. You feel it. It's uncomfortable, but at the same time, you feel peace. You can't understand it. When he's done, he just says shalom. That is peace to you, and moves on. As he moves about the room, Peter finally says something. Much like other times, Peter's rather abrupt. He tells Jesus, no way you're going to do this. No way, this isn't going to happen. Calmly, Jesus replies that it must. So Peter, being Peter, takes it to an extreme and says, all right, then wash my hands, my head too. Again, Jesus responds calmly. But he's almost talking in parables. He responds that you do not need to be fully cleaned, but just your feet. He knew Peter had been fully washed, much like when we're washed in baptism. We don't really need another. His response makes it sound like not everyone in the room has the same relationship as you. Someone in the room does not know him. Someone may have rejected the original washing. Someone in the room does not believe who he is. Someone in the room isn't what he seems. Jesus finishes, puts on his cloak. He then asks us all, do you know what I've done for you? Once again, you feel uncomfortable and confused. Once again, he begins to teach. This time, however, it sounds like there's a sense of urgency in his voice. This time, it sounds like what he's teaching us is going to happen soon. You don't all fully understand what this means, but you know he's serious about it. He wants us to wash each other's feet. He wants us to put ourselves aside and take the lowest position among those we are with. He wants you to be the servant, regardless of the cost. He had just said, this is the example I want you to follow. He just showed you how to treat those around us. Now it's our turn. Now it's time for us to remember by doing. Now we need to bring this event to life, to feel the emotion, to know the significance, to embrace what God has accomplished for us. Now, it is for us to be nourished by his body and blood, so we have the strength and the humility to become his servant as he's calling us to be.